Hello and welcome back. I'm Nicole, a cottage witch, and today I'm doing the Spring is in the Air book tag, but with added tarot for fun because it's me, and I haven't done that in a minute. So this is a tag by Daniela at Uncommon Reader and Beyond Books, Reney and Reney, the pup, because necessary. I'll link both of their videos down below, and it's just a list of prompts that are spring-ish and associated books to talk about. So it's a good time. The first one is Spring Chicks. Name a book that makes you feel warm and fuzzy. So I used to read, and I haven't lately, maybe maybe because I finished my Masters of Library and Information Studies and had spent 4 years reading way too many things about libraries. The Library at Night by Alberto Manguel. Not sure I pronounced that properly, sorry. I used to read a lot of books about books and libraries and bookstores and the history of the book and that sort of thing. Because any book about books is just cozy. And this is apparently, and it is, the captivating story of the critical role that libraries have played in our civilization. He lives in France now, apparently, or did when this book was written. It is not a new book. He elaborates on the theory that libraries embody the memory of individuals and whole cultures. Draws on sources as diverse as his childhood bookshelf and the complete libraries of the internet, reaches back to ancient Egypt and forward to Google. So it's just any book about books is cozy. And then, whoops, a deck that I find cozy is the Herbcrafter's Tarot. Because, is that going to focus? Possibly not. I'm a herbalist. Amateur, but still. I do stuff for me. And I just, being around plants is cozy. And making things at home to take care of myself is cozy. Sort of like baking is cozy, you know. Because that's still doing something to take care of yourself. And learning how to make these various concoctions and getting to know what is this, rosemary? Getting to know these various plants just feels very warm and fuzzy. Alright, the next one is a book that is set near or on the water or has that word in the title. So I haven't read this book yet, but it's a book I want to read this spring, which is The Drowned Forest by Angela Berry. This is my Bermuda pick for reading around the world. I'm trying to read a book from every country, and the island countries are really interesting to read about because on the prairies we're feeling the impact of climate change a little bit, but we're pretty insulated from it in a way that island countries are really not. And this is not a new book. When was this written? 2022. Okay, so newish. I thought it was older than that. So it's 3 years old. And the discovery of a fossilized tree stump off the coast of Bermuda, she finds a potent metaphor for long-term climate change, against which to measure the alarms, resentments, and hopes of future possibilities, expressed by her characters as they are spun to Bermuda's emergence from colonial status. And of course, reading around the world, you read a lot of books if they're published in the last 100 years, a lot of them will address emerging from colonialism, or attempting to. Yeah, I'm not gonna read the whole, it's a good long, anyway. Oh, she's lived in a whole bunch of places. She was born in Bermuda, but lived in France, England, Gambia, Senegal, and the Seychelles before returning to Bermuda. Cool. She's contributed to the anthology So Many Islands and New Daughters of Africa. I may have to look those up if I like this book. And then the deck I picked is, oh, now I can't get the lid off. Sea Soul Journeys Oracle cards. I don't have very many water decks because being on the prairies, I am extremely landlocked. We've got rivers and lakes, but very definitely no oceans. But this is, let me see how to do this, making a mess. It's just very, I don't know, serene. It's calming in the way that water is calming, even when it's not calm itself. It's somehow, I don't know, it's got a thing that it does. I mean, obviously when our river flooded here 12 years ago, that was not calm. But this is, like, even this, the waves here, that I wouldn't dip my toes into, because I would be scared of the ocean. It's still calming to look at. All right. Next is showers, spring break. Talk about a time you took a break from reading and why. So I took a break from reading the things that I wanted when I was doing my Masters of Library and Information Studies, because I was reading so many papers. So I finished so few books during those years and read so many papers, which was interesting. Like, I'm glad I did it, but oi. The day I was done, I was like, oh, I could read what I want again. That's exciting. And then with tarot, I just haven't used it at all the last month and a half. I mean, a couple of times, but almost not at all. Not for any particular reason, just a bit of a slump, which happens. I don't usually get reading slumps. I mean, I'll get reading slumps of certain types of genres or types of books, but I don't usually get reading slumps, because I'll have, like, if I don't read for a certain period of time, I'll start getting antsy and be like, something's wrong. We have a problem. Swallow's Homecoming. A book or author you always go back to for comfort. Oops. This may seem strange, but I picked for this one Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I've read it, I think, probably 3 times. I can't actually remember. Should check Goodreads and see. And it's not because it's a cozy book exactly, but I feel comfortable and cozy reading it. Like, it feels like going home. Because it's familiar, and there's just something about all of the Bronte's books, and books about their lives as well. I have a few biographies and literary criticism and stuff. Any sort of books about them and their lives just feels cozy. And I don't know if it's because like, it's not like they had a good childhood. Several of the kids died quite young, but they had I don't know, their imaginative home environment seems cozy to me. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not entirely sure. And then I picked the Gentle Tarot, and I have the tin version out here because it's one of the first ones I pull out for the spring, because it's okay, that's not a very spring card. But it's the first deck I pulled out when I was like, okay, I need some spring color. Now, we don't really have any spring color outside because it snowed the other day, and it's gonna snow again tomorrow. And this is in April. Joys of living in Canada. Is snow. All the snow all the time. But we are getting, like, trees are starting to bud and things like that. We don't have much in the way of flowers yet because snow. But there are little grass shoots popping up, and so that's what I always want to pull this deck out. It's just like, it's an anytime I need comfort. A year-round deck. But at the tail end of winter, when I'm like, I am so tired of this, it's a beautiful thing. So that is the Gentle Tarot by Mari in the Sky. She's one of my favorite artists. I love her stuff. A book that started slowly but blossomed to be one of your favorite reads. So for that, I picked, this is actually heavier than it looks, The Lord of the Rings, because it takes a minute to get into, and if you start reading it too young and you're not an incredible geek, It's maybe a little bit off-putting because he can describe a tree for 3 pages, and occasionally does. But they're just so cozy, and I love them. They're beautiful books. They have maps. Who doesn't love a book with maps? I mean, come on. Love a book with maps. They're also very long, so they can be a little bit intimidating, I guess. But once you get into them, like, once you love a book or a series, when you sort of don't want it to end, then long is not a problem. So I love this book. Or series of books, depending on how you look at it. I tend to view it as basically one book. But it is one of my all-time favorites, and I've just read it. I just read it in French this past year, well, over Christmas, and it's so much fun. It's just so much fun. Another deck, the deck that I picked for this is our tarot, which is because it also required a little bit of work to get into, because I had to read the whole guidebook, which I almost never do, because usually they're boring and don't add very much. Apologies to anybody who's ever written a guidebook, but I don't tend to like them. Especially if they're just a little white book. If they add something extra, I'll read those bits. But this one, every card is a different woman throughout history and around the world. It's really quite diverse. I like that about it. But I didn't know all of them. And still, like Lucretia Borgia, I'd have to look her up again. And it wouldn't take me long now. I'd like glance at the first few sentences of her biography in this guidebook to be reminded, oh, that's who that is, okay. But I can actually use this deck now. For that reason, like, I don't have to spend a lot of time reading the guidebook entries of every single person. This is a funny card. She was a dancer. Good dancer or sculptor or some sort of artist who is seriously unconventional. And it's just got the most interesting collection of women, and I loved reading their stories. But yeah, it was a little bit of work to get into because it's not, if you don't know them all already, which I would be very impressed if somebody did know every single one of them, then you have to do a little bit of work to be able to use it. But I think it's worth it because, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I love the artwork. I mean, that's why I got it originally, the artwork, and the fact that it's 78 interesting women who, I mean, that's pretty cool. Eggs in a Basket. 3 books you want to read this spring. So these are mostly books I want to finish this spring because, okay, in the last couple of months I have started way too many books. I have way too many books on the go, to the point where, like, I can read a lot of books at once, but I'm starting to get a tiny bit overwhelmed by the number of books I've started reading. So I've got to finish these 3. So one is the Book of Rhymes, The Poetics of Hip Hop by Adam Bradley, which is really fun. I'm only yay far into it, but it's really interesting so far. I feel like it's taking me longer because I want to look up a lot of the songs he talks about because I don't know all of them. I don't even know most of them. But the back says Brat may be the most revolutionary development in poetry over the past 40 years, yet its originality is hidden in plain sight. Often overshadowed by the beat, bluster, and hype surrounding the music, lyrics are the heart of hip-hop. This book explores America's least understood poets by unpacking their complex craft and according them the respect they deserve as lyricists. Examining the language and techniques of hip-hop's most memorable artists. Literary scholar, and he teaches poetry in Boulder, I think, argues that a new world of rhythm and rhyme awaits us if we put aside preconceptions and encounter rap with new ears and new eyes. So that seemed pretty cool. Also because they're the only poets doing anything interesting with rhythm and sort of the movement of a poem. Everybody else has thrown out so much of the history of rhythm, but not replaced it with anything that I find particularly interesting. So yeah, that's why I'm getting into that. Beyond the Veil, Male-Female Dynamics in Modern Muslim Society by Fatima Mernissi. She is a renowned feminist and professor in Morocco. And she wrote this book a while back. This is the updated version, which is still not, is it written in the 80s? Yeah, first published in 75, updated in 83. No, this edition in 87. So it's not new. So it's actually really, really interesting to read this with the knowledge of everything that comes in the like 40 years after the updates, because they're you know, like with the Taliban back in Afghanistan and the government in Iran, still in Iran, in different but the same sort of movements around women's rights in the Middle East. It's really interesting to read this book, and it's interesting to read her because she does know, like, she's been educated clearly to a certain degree in what Western feminism looks like, and she'll talk about the differences between Islamic feminism, Middle Eastern secular feminism, and Western feminism, but she's not so interested in like strictly comparing them so much as just examining Middle Eastern feminism in modern society, which would be in the 70s and 80s. So tiny bit dated maybe, but also kind of not. So and she draws on a lot of history and will wade into politics all over the place. I'm not entirely sure I'd recommend this book for somebody who doesn't know anything about the Middle East. But if you do know something about it, it's fascinating so far. I'm really enjoying that one. Only because if you don't know anything about the Middle East, you're going to be Googling things quite often to understand everything. And then I want to finish Icelandic Plant Magic, Folk Herbalism of the North, before I go to Iceland, because I want to have a better idea of what some of these plants are. Like apparently Arctic thyme is a variety of thyme that's one of the most well-loved herbs in Iceland. And then I looked up different, you know, tea shops and things like that, herbalism stores in Iceland. And they do indeed all sell Arctic thyme. It's a big thing apparently. Whoops, I almost dropped the book. There are a lot of things like trembling aspen and things that are plants that I know. So it would be learning, you know, how different people have interacted with them. And then there are a bunch of plants that are what would you call them, like subarctic plants that I'm not familiar with at all. Like bilberry and birch I'm familiar with, but some of these other ones, they've got a particular kind of moss there. Ooh, they've got bearberry there. I love bearberry. It'd be cool if I can see some of these plants, because I'll be going in August sometime, August, September. And so plants will be out and about, and it'll be cool if I can like identify some of them. That would be fun. Okay, and then 3 decks I want to use are, I pulled out Song of the Grandmothers with the same artist who did the Gentle Tarot, because this is a very spring and summery deck. Like, look at how colorful the backs are. They're so pretty. The lighting's not quite doing them justice, but they're just, her artwork is so adorable and beautiful and cozy. I love it. So I had to pull that. I haven't used these 3 yet this spring, but I will do. Let's see if I can get did they come gold edged, or I can't remember if I did that or not. But they're just so colorful and full of life and vibrancy that I just, you know, after the hibernation of winter, I'm like, okay, let's go. I'm ready for spring now. I want to go on walks and look at plants, and we don't have any plants up and about yet, except for the, you know, the starts of grass stalks. Although the lilac is budding. I'm so excited about that. So excited. Okay, and then there are a couple of decks that I got this winter and haven't used yet. The Wisdom of the Sacred Bee Oracle and the Journey of the Sacred Bee Tarot. And they are super colorful. And very, like, unapologetically colorful. So I enjoy them a lot. Like, just looking at them so far. I haven't really, I think actually I might have, on a couple of the gloomier days in winter, I might have pulled out the Oracle deck, but I haven't used the Tarot deck at all yet. So it'll be fun. And I have done pollinator walks, like the first pollinator walk I'm going on, that somebody else is doing, is in later near the end of April. because by then we will have some flowers. Here's hoping. I'm really, what is the date today? April 11? 12? What is the date? I have my 14th. It's the 14th. Clearly I cannot be trusted to know what day it is. And snow, like mid-April snow is not an idea of a good time. So I pulled these out a couple days ago, and I was just like, okay, that's it. We need some color, we need some life. I have found some ladybugs in my, I don't know how, I gotta look up how ladybugs reproduce, which seems like an odd thing to say, but there have been 4 of them so far in my office. So I don't know if somebody, like, do they lay eggs and then they just hatch in the spring? I don't know how that works. Because the first time I saw one, I thought, oh, it just hibernated and now it's coming out of hibernation and has ended up in my office somehow. So I took it out to a tree. And then I went into the office today. This is the tarot deck here. And there were 3 more. They were all dead, unfortunately, because they were stuck inside for the last week because I was sick working from home last week. So nobody was there to take them outside, which was a bit sad. They're so cute. They're the little 2-spotted ladybugs, which are becoming a little bit rare-ish around here. And they're adorable and tiny. And I'm sad that they died on my office window ledge. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how they all, like, suddenly I have a ladybug infestation, which is not a bad problem to have as long as I'm there and can take them out to, like, you know, a nearby friendly tree or something. Because they are not built for office life. Anyway, as you can see, this is very colorful. It's very, I think it gets into, what is it called? Sacred geometry? Which I know nothing about. I got it for the bees because I've gotten really into native plants and pollinators in the last couple of years. Just going on these walks and tours and uploading things to iNaturalist for community science and things like that. So it's a good time. The native plant rescues are starting up again too now that the earth is, like, at least if it's snowing, the earth is thawed enough that you can dig up plants. So it's not quite so winter. Throwing books around here. Anyway, I needed more space on my table. The next one is Green Pastures, a classic that never gets old. So I could have picked one of the Bronte books for this, but this time I picked Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I have read this at least twice, but I will definitely be reading it probably at least twice more in my life. It's so, the writing is gorgeous. It's so beautiful. If you don't like The Lord of the Rings because he takes 3 pages describing a tree, though, you're not gonna like this. It's not. But if you do like that, this might be just the thing for you, because you will spend more time learning about different types of knots, different species of whales, different types of coffins of all things than you ever thought you needed to know. He does go on a little bit, but the writing is gorgeous, and just the exploration of humanity is so beautiful. I love it. The deck that I picked for this is another colorful one for spring, the Light Seers Tarot, or summer. This seems like a summery deck to me. I did make the edges a bit green because, you know, the more color the better in this case. And this is a classic. I don't know how long this one has been around. Does it have a date? I'm sorry if this video is a bit chaotic. 2019. Okay, so I'm not as old as I thought I was. Like, I could have picked, what's the other one I've got? The Kim Kranz decks. I can't remember the names at the moment. Anyway, this seems like a classic because it's been around for a few years. I mean, it's only 6 years, but in the modern tarot world, that seems like a long time. And this does drive me a bit nuts sometimes. Like every time there's a new deck out, this is not my favorite card. It seems like it's only new for about 5 minutes and then everybody has to move on to the next thing and then it's old, which is weird, and I'm not crazy about that. Because then it seems like you need to get on the next new thing every 5 minutes, and first of all, who can afford that? Not me. But second of all, that's sort of like, I don't love this guy. He reminds me of, who's that actor, Jared Leto, who I find a bit creepy. He seems like a walking red flag. I mean, I don't know him, so, you know, but, yeah. Anyway, tangent again. Yeah, it's classic, and it's a classic, easy one to get into that's like bright and colorful and more modern. Because sometimes the traditional one is not so much everybody's thing, you know. Which I get, because it's not so much my thing either, but if you want a lot of it, like this has a surprise, for such a modern deck, it has a surprising amount of the traditional imagery. Not all of it, obviously, but a surprising amount. Swords, I like that one. So yeah, this is my pick for classic, because otherwise you'd have to go back to either like 80s decks, which, and I don't have Voyager Tarot. Maybe if I had that one, I'd pick that one. Or like original. But I don't love any of the original decks, which may be, whoops, heresy. I'm putting them together backwards here. And now I'm falling apart and I have cards everywhere. Good. Okay, what's the next one? The next one is the last one. Well, second last one. A book or author you're allergic to. So, I'm kind of allergic to Cormac McCarthy. I've tried reading his other books and I just can't. No. They're so uninteresting to me. Like, supremely uninteresting. I don't find them bad or anything. There's nothing in them that gets hold of me. Except for this one. I love The Road. It's a beautiful spare book. And really heartbreaking in a lot of ways. And yeah, I don't know. But I'm allergic to all the rest of his books that I've read. I think I've tried to read about 3 of them, because I love this one, so I'm like, maybe he has other books that I'll love. No, not yet. And then, okay, so the traditional tarot decks are kind of like that traditional block printing and coloring with just the primary colors. Like, I realized they were limited by the technologies at the time, so I'm not criticizing them or anything, but also, it's not my style. However, the inoculation for the Marseille, which I've wanted to get into for a minute, is the gay Marseille. Because it's colorful, like look at the backs, they're pretty. And very gay, it's very gay. There's the hormone replacement therapy. I assume that's what that is. Jars. Let's get to some majors. Because there are so many, because there are so many of the pips, just looking at those in the traditional ones doesn't do very much for me. But these ones, they just have, like, I like the color scheme that Charlie Kleiber just used, and they just added some of these extra flourishes that are just fun and sort of bring it back to life, like revive, because it is in some ways quite traditional, and then in other ways extremely not. So yeah, this is my inoculation, or allergy shots. Do you call those inoculations? I don't know. Anyway, they're the allergy shots that I do not get anymore, hence the sniffling. Because I have enough other health problems to be dealing with. I don't want any more hospital or clinic visits than strictly necessary. But anyway, like, how great is that? I love it. So yeah, I am getting a bit into the Marseille, but through the gay Marseille. which is aptly named. And then there's a bonus question that I won't do, but I'll include it down below in case anybody else wants to do it, which is Equinox. Find 2 books on your shelf that have the exact same number of pages and talk briefly about them. I don't have the energy to go through a bunch of, and also I'm trying to get rid of some books on my shelves, like do a read it or unhaul it sort of year. Because my shelves are at the point where if I start taking things out, things get a little precarious. Which is like, you know, not a bad problem to have. I'm not really complaining about it, but trying to go through all the books is just, yeah, no, it's not gonna happen. But I will include it down below if you want to do it. So yeah, that was a fun tag. I watched, yes, Reney and Daniela's videos. I will link down below if you want to watch theirs as well. And you know, if you see this and then want to do it as well, let me know and I will watch it, because I need some spirit of spring in snowy Alberta, please. Thank you. All right, that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.